Welcome back to Digital Futures 2022. Of course, next up is our final keynote speaker. I hope you are ready for this one. Pretty incredible stuff. We have Dr. Jenine Beekhuyzen OAM with a presentation called Techgirls, Inspiring the Next Generation of STEM Entrepreneurs. Now, Dr. Jenine Beekhuyzen is a futurist who believes existing structures in the technology industry must change in order to serve tomorrow's digital landscape, and that our children's future job prospects depend on it. Her focus is on leadership, innovation, and education to champion Australian tech entrepreneurship and address the necessary rebalancing of gender roles within the traditionally male-dominated STEM space. In her highly illuminated presentations, Dr. Beekhuyzen discusses her vision for Australia's future in technology, including the changes that will prove critical in helping leaders break traditional approaches that currently hold us back. More importantly, she proposes practical solutions that can mobilise a new generation of leaders and innovators who are committed to solving real-world problems with technology. The vision is for a society in which girls confidently lead in STEM entrepreneurship and contribute to their community and to the economy. The mission or pathway to achieve this is to champion Australian schoolgirls using hands-on learning to transform their future and encourage equity in the technology industry. This is done by helping girls to get excited and connected with technology in a way that's meaningful and life-changing. And research has become apparent how important it is to introduce typical and counter-stereotypical STEM role models to young people to help shape how they see women and their roles in work, family, and society. As we say, if you can see it, you can be it. Friends, without further ado, please welcome for her presentation, Dr. Jenine Beekhuyzen OAM.
Thank you, Rosie, for that wonderful introduction, and what an amazing day. I'm so excited to be part of Digital Futures 2022. Thank you for having me to round out your afternoon just before we go to our panel. And I've learned so much today listening to our other presenters, and there's so many great insights on how we can find our way into technology careers and how we can find our superpower, which is partly what I'm going to talk about today. So thank you for that very, very kind introduction. So I'm just going to share my slides. Give me one moment and I will share them. And I wish I was with you in person today, but unfortunately I couldn't make it in person, but we're making the most of the next best thing. So I'm grateful to be here today. So hopefully you can see my slides now. And we're going to talk today about tech girls and how do we inspire the next generation of STEM entrepreneurs. So I'm really excited to talk about my journey today into STEM and entrepreneurship and what I'm doing for young people. And we have a bit of a pop down in my background there. So I am trying to fill my name with the alphabet, as you may have noticed with all the letters. But anyway, a bit of fun to start the afternoon. So I'm a tech girl, and I'm here to talk about what does a tech girl look like and what do we do? And how do we find ways to inspire our next generation? And for many years, I've been in the space researching the lack of women in tech for 20 plus years, being one of a few women in tech myself through my own IT degree and creating my own startup and working through different employment opportunities and turning the dial back to how can we fix the pipeline? How do we encourage more young people into STEM? And it really does start going back into schools. It starts with young people and changing culture. Changing stereotypes, or at least breaking down and myth-busting stereotypes. And what does it look like to be a successful person working in STEM? So today, we're here to showcase the diversity of thought, and we've certainly seen that today. And we're about inspiring women and girls to consider all careers that are digital. And at Techgirls, we do this through innovative opportunities to incite greater interest in developing digital skills in young people and developing their interests in careers in digital fields. And another reason why we're here today is to inspire women and girls of all ages and all stages of their career to choose a digital career path. And at Techgirls, we share stories around inspiring, creating interest and motivating young people to real societal change. And I'll give you a few examples of that today. And as Rosie said in the intro, see it so you can be it. And part of my reason for being here today is if I can do it, you can do it. So this is what a tech girl looks like. Now, often we have this image of someone who works in tech as sitting in the corner by themselves, working alone, wearing big glasses, not having many friends around them, and solving problems. And I think that's a very outdated view of what technology is and who works in technology. For me, the people I work with look just like me. And certainly you've come across those people occasionally, but they're not the mainstream. They're certainly not the majority of what you see. And for me, finding our way in technology is about finding our X factor. So I'd like to throw it out there to you today. And what is your X factor? So we often talk about STEM plus X. So we find what we love to do, which is our X factor, and then we bring STEM into it to be part of what we do. And so if you're interested in animals, you're interested in the environment, you're interested in healthcare, you're interested in renewable energy, you're interested in cars, we find a way to bring STEM to be part of that and to use our STEM knowledge to solve problems in those spaces that we haven't solved before, or that we've solved before, but we can solve them in new ways with technology. So I'm very fortunate in my everyday life to spend time with lots of young people who have a vision for the future, or at least a vision for the next year or a short time. But what I've found is that young people really do care about the future, and they care about the world that we live in, and they're actively trying to find solutions to problems that we're facing right now. So how do we do this? So part of how we do this is I'm Joella. So I usually wear a cape. I don't have a cape today, but if I was on stage in front of you, I would have a cape on. But the concept of being a superhero is not that you're good at everything, but it's about finding that one thing that you're good at that makes you different and unique, that makes you awesome. And we all have that. And to be honest, I'll preface this with I've always been a bit of the odd girl and have found it a little bit challenging to find my way through traditional ways of education and work. But what I've tried to draw on is what can I offer that's different but awesome? And I know you all have that. So you're all diamonds. So what is it about you that makes you stand out? And so for me, I find a way of connecting people. So people often, when I ask people what their superpower is, they often throw that question back to me. And I say it's my smile, because it's almost physically impossible for someone to frown at you when you smile at them. So next time someone's frowning at you, pop your hands on your hips in a power pose and give them a big smile and see how they respond. But in reality, I'm really good at bringing people together and connecting people. And so through the program that I run through the Techgirls Movement Foundation and our campaign, Techgirls Are Superheroes, which I'll talk more about, we try to think of ourselves as superhero characters and how we could tap into the social justice that we'd like to solve in the world, and what are our strengths and what are our weaknesses, and who can we surround ourselves with to actually make a difference in the world and make the world a better place. So I do that through my alter ego of Joella, and if you read some stories that we have, I go into outer space and find a clean energy source and bring it back and save the world. And I know now people are actually doing this in real life, so it was interesting 10 years ago to think about how technology has changed in that time. So again, what is your superpower? I'll leave that with you for a moment. So what we've done is we've developed a series of books called Techgirls Are Superheroes. We have them available in every school across Australia. We've distributed 80,000 free copies of these books in the last 10 years. And essentially they are adventure books. So I don't know how many of you in the audience like to solve problems. I love to solve problems. How many of you like puzzles? I love puzzles. How many of you like to go on adventures? That's me. And that's what the stories really are about. And that's what I find my journey in technology is about. It's about finding problems that I really want to solve and then using technology in a way to make a difference. So if you don't have a copy of our Techgirls Are Superheroes books, pop onto our website at techgirlsmovement.org and we would love to send you a copy and sign your name and pop that out to you. So I'd love to introduce you to Emmy. So Emmy is the youngest girl to ever pitch in our program. I'll get back to that in a moment. So when Emmy was 2, Emmy came home and said to her mother, "I can't be a builder like Daddy because I'm a girl." That was at 2. So at 2 years old, she'd opted herself out of anything that was technically related. So I'm not sure where she got that messaging from. It wasn't at home, but it came from somewhere. So that's why I was very delighted when Emmy came along to one of our workshops when she was 3, as you can see in the picture there. And at 3 years old, Emmy came up with an idea to solve a problem that she cared about. And her problem, as you have when you're 3 years old, is around chores and getting her chores done every day. So she designed an app that she could then share her chores with her friends to see what chores they were working on and have a bit of a competition around getting your chores done every day. But at 3 years old, she got up in front of 50 people and pitched her app to the audience. Again, if Emmy can do it, we can do it. So what was really delightful was, oops, I jumped ahead there. What was really delightful was recently we did a rebrand for Techgirls, and we had a bunch of our girls who've been through our program and have contributed come back and dress up as their favorite superhero character, and that's me there as Juella, and Emmy there dressed up as well alongside me. So it's a great way to share our community and to expand the work that we do and have young people feel like they really do belong. And I know that's something I've struggled with a lot of my life, finding a community that I belong with and where I can really be myself and share what I care about. And that's what we try to create at Techgirls. So what is Techgirls all about? So our vision really is to have a society in which girls lead confidently in STEM and entrepreneurship, and they contribute to their economy, to their community and to the economy. And how do we do this? So our mission is to champion Australian schoolgirls using hands-on learning to transform their future and encourage equity in the technology industry. So what this really comes down to is I want to give girls choices in life. That's always been my goal. And I've been working on Techgirls for 10 years, but I've been also researching the lack of women in technology for 20 plus years now, since I was one of a few girls in my own technology degree at university. I was fortunate to be brought on to do some research at that time around the lack of women in tech. So I've been looking at this phenomenon for quite a long time. And my experience tells me is young people have a lot to offer. We don't often give them a voice to share what they care about, but certainly give them the tools and the support. They can find solutions to problems that we all care about. So how do we do this? We do this through our STEM entrepreneurship program. So the anatomy of our program, essentially there are 4 parts to the program that we run, and we run this program every year, and we also run it in lots of day events as well. So I'll explain that. But essentially what happens is we have a 12-week program. And over the 12 weeks, what we want is for young people to solve young people's problems. So we ask young people to join a team. So we get girls with 3 to 5 people in a team to join with us. And once you join, we match you with a mentor, so someone who works in industry. So we work with Google, with Amazon, with all of the big companies out there, and we find ways to find industry people who want to help you, and we match you. And what we do over the 12 weeks, so we have 4 modules, and each of them lasts for 3 weeks. So the first module is around ideation. So the traditional design thinking. Ideation is really about finding ideas. And so what we do in the ideation phase is we spend time brainstorming. So it's not very technical. You've probably done that in the classroom. But what we do is we brainstorm different ideas on things that we care about in our community. So these can be things that relate to me individually around my own well-being, maybe my personal safety, maybe around exercise, maybe around, it could be mental health. There's a bunch of things that we can do personally. We might take that up a level and we think something a bit broadly around our school or our family. It might be that our grandparents can't read very well and have a really hard time deciphering letters they get from the government. That could be the problem. It could be that our local sports centre doesn't have enough people to volunteer to do the work that they need. So it depends on what problem is important to you, and there are no insignificant problems. All problems are important. We can go wider than that, and we might like to look at, for instance, in the environment, plastics in the local waterway, or it could be something around climate change, or it could be something more broadly around bullying. So there are a whole bunch of issues and problems that we can identify that we care about. And what we find, because we have girls in different parts of Australia, depending on where you live, you'll have different problems that you care about. And we absolutely welcome that because we get to learn a lot from you through that process. So once we identify at least 10 different problems that we care about and why they're important, then we decide on 3 and break it down to 1. And once we can agree in a team on the one that we care about, that's when we move on to our next phase. So in phase 2, we do some research and we go out and find out what other solutions are out there to the problem that we're trying to solve. Now, my background in technology is most often we build solutions looking for problems. And what that means is we have a lot of technology that kind of does stuff, but we don't quite know what to do with it or why it's useful. And our program is really trying to flip that on its head. And let's really focus on a problem that we care about first. And then let's design a useful solution to that problem. So then hopefully we get over that issue of having sort of technology floating around and we don't know what to do with it. So that's the important part of the research. So going out and finding how other people have solved the problem and what can we learn from them. There may be some that have, for instance, if it was something around exercise, there may be lots of different ways people have tried to solve that through technology, whereas there may be other problems people have barely tried to solve. So we do some research and see what we can learn. Once we've done our research, then we do our build. And so building is where we design an app. So we do what we call a wireframe, which is a series of screens of what an app would look like, and we design what each of them would be. So I encourage you to think about what are your favorite apps and what are your least favorite apps. Why are some of them your favorite? Why are some of them your least favorite? And what can we learn from them? And so what that tells me, if I'm going to build an app, I'm going to go to the ones that I like and build in the features that I like about them. And those that I don't like, I'm going to try to avoid building the features of those. But we can certainly learn from what's been done before. And a little known fact, 99% of apps on the App Store only ever get downloaded and opened once. Think about that for a moment. Only ever get downloaded and opened once, 99% of them. So only 1% of them are technically successful in that people use them more than once. Now, you don't want your app to be the one that doesn't get used very often. If you have a look at your device, how many apps do you have on there that you barely ever use? Have a think. And you don't want to be one of those apps that barely ever gets used. So this is why we go through this process. So part of that build process is that we build a business plan. So we document all of our ideas that we had during ideation and research and through the design phase, because part of the design is we need to go and test our ideas and see if people think that they're useful. And also part of that process is we build an actual working prototype of an app. So I'm sure if any of you are in school on the line today, you've probably done some programming in Scratch. Scratch is what most of us do at school these days. So that's block coding. We use a couple of other programs that are slightly more advanced than Scratch, but if you've used Scratch, then you'll know how to build an app in the program that we run. And so we help you to build the app and get that together. We start to think about branding, colors, logos, naming, things that will make our idea fly. So once we've done all that, we then need to pitch the idea. So it doesn't matter how good your idea is. If you can't sell it to someone else in your pitch, they're not going to give you the $1 million to make it happen. So part of what we do is we really need to find a way of communicating how important our problem is, the research we've done to solve it, and the solution we've presented. So in 12 weeks, we have our STEM entrepreneurship program runs every year from May to July. So we're in the middle of the program right now. And the idea is to solve a problem in the community that you care about. So we run it as a competition. So there are prizes and you can win, and which is really fun. At the moment, we have 700 girls across 170 teams from 42 different schools competing in the competition. So they're all trying to solve a problem that they care about. And for us, it's really interesting to look over time and what problems do people care about in different years. So for instance, 3 years ago, cyberbullying was a really big issue in terms of the apps that people were building. So about a quarter of the apps that people were building were around cyberbullying. We found just last year, we had a lot less apps around cyberbullying just because what was happening online, people were spending more time online for schoolwork, they're spending less time for leisure online, and that seemed to have an impact on cyberbullying. So for us, it's really interesting to see the trends over time and what do young people care about at a particular point. So we're super excited to see what they care about this year. And I should mention that every team of girls is matched with a mentor. So that's really important for us. Mentoring is key, and I'll talk a bit more about mentoring in a moment. It's a really important part of what we do, and it helps to make our program work. So one other thing I should mention is that we ask all of our participants to align the problems that they solve with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So I'm not sure how many of you have heard of them before, but there are 17 UN SDGs that are useful for us to think about what problems we want to solve in the world. So as a summary, it's really around 4 phases of design thinking. What works most? There are 2 things that work most in the program that we run. Partly is that teams get to choose a problem that they care about. So often in school, we're told what we should do. Here's your assignment, here's the topic, this is what you need to do. We don't do that. We say, find a problem you care about, and then you can go and solve it. And for us, that works really well. All teams are matched with a mentor, as I mentioned, and there's something really powerful for young people to have an adult they don't know take them seriously. And to be honest, I don't think it's just young people. I think for all of us to have a mentor and have someone we don't know take us seriously is really quite a big shift. As we said, it's about young people solving young people's problems. And that's because I'm not a young person and I don't know what problems young people have. So how could I possibly even think about solving them? So the best people to solve them is young people. Let's get them on board. Let's give them the tools they need to solve the problem, and let's help them to do that. So UN Sustainable Development Goals are really important for us. And we've had 13,000 girls through our program to date. So we have our 12-week STEM entrepreneurship program, and we also run free workshops in schools. So if you are with the school and would like us to come and visit, please do drop us a line, and we would love to hear from you and come and visit. And essentially the one-day workshop in schools is a kind of a taster for the competition. It's a one-day version of the 12-week program. We just don't get to spend so much time on all the bits, but certainly we get to come up with an idea for a problem that we care about. Now, interestingly, last year in the pandemic, our numbers were a little bit less than they are this year, but collectively across all of our teams, our teachers, our parents, our schools, our mentors, our judges, and us here at Techgirls, we spent 10,000 hours. That's a very conservative number, but 10,000 hours collectively together on STEM entrepreneurship. We're pretty proud of that because that really means we're mobilizing a community to make real change in the world. So for us, understanding the impact that we have and evaluating our program is really, really important. And so one of the comments we received from a teacher was that the program we run has been the most challenging, most time-consuming, but most fulfilling project that they have worked on with students in 30 years of teaching. And we're pretty proud of that kind of feedback. So we know the program isn't easy, and it's not meant to be easy. Life isn't easy, unfortunately. But what we try to do is to give you the skills and give you the tools you need to find your way through and navigate those challenges along the way. So a little known fact I'm going to share with you. Did you know that mentoring is literally good for your health? So mentoring a young person is 4 times more predictive of your happiness than your health or how much money you make. So I really love this stat because I think it helps us to understand the importance of mentoring. And if all of us in the room today think about someone we've had in our life, whether it's formally or informally, but someone who has guided us to make certain decisions and along the pathway that we're on. And so those people are so key. And like we said earlier, if you can see it, you can be it. And I have my own tribe of people that I looked up to who inspire me all the time. So we need those people in our lives to help moving us along. And I have mentors. I have many, many mentors, and I also mentor many people. And I think it's a great position to be in to be able to provide that joy back to the world. So hopefully you take my advice. So I would love to introduce you to Chloe. So Chloe is part of a team called the P-Cubed, or the Plastic Pollution Preventers. And so P-Cube were a local Brisbane team, a primary school team a couple of years ago in our program. So Chloe was 9 or 10, I can't quite remember, but 9 or 10. And at the time, Chloe's mum said to her, "You should do the Techgirls program because I think you'll really like it." And because the reason being, Chloe's sister had been in the program and enjoyed it, so Chloe's mum thought she should do the program too. Chloe's response was, "I'm not going to do Techgirls because I won't be good at it." And so that for me is very concerning that Chloe opted herself out at such a young age without even trying whether she could do technology. She decided that she wasn't going to be good at it, so she didn't want to seem to be bad at it. So she opted herself out. And I see this so much with this picture perfect sort of Instagram world that we live in. We're striving for perfection. We're striving for sameness. And to be honest, that's almost impossible. I think perfectionism is absolutely impossible. I'm a really big fan of the 80-20 rule, to be honest. I figure if I get things 80% right, that's better than most people's 100%. So I'm pretty good with 80%. And 80% done is better than not getting anything done at all. So that's the kind of rule that I live by. So fortunately, after Chloe's mum kind of convinced her to do the program, she agreed. She got a couple of friends together. They created an app to solve our single-use plastic problem. So the app helped us to track our single-use plastics. Just a little long after they introduced the app, they changed the law in Queensland. So it was very, very relevant. So at 10 and 11, Chloe, Deepika, and Hallie off they went and they won the national competition. So here Chloe was saying, I don't think I'll be good at it. Went and won the competition and beat 1,000 other girls. It went to Silicon Valley at 10 and 11, and they pitched over there with us, and they pitched at Google and Facebook and eBay and all the big companies, and they did an amazing job at just 10 and 11 years old. So impressed myself with what they were able to do at such a young age. And what breaks my heart is that we've lost the Chloes of the world by opting themselves out because they think they're just not good enough without even giving it a try. So I love this next photo. Here are our PQ girls sitting at Google in Silicon Valley, and they're hanging out on campus after we've had a big lunch and just finding their way. And what I'd like to say is we should all be a little bit more like Chloe. And part of where this comes from is my next question to you is, do you suffer imposter syndrome? Now, imposter syndrome is this funny thing which I know has come up a little bit today, and it's one of those topics where, you know, we put ourselves out there and then we get scared because we think someone's going to find out that we're making it all up. Funnily enough, I don't know any single person who's ever been caught out as being an imposter, but we have this in our head that we're not good enough, and I think all of us have it at some point in time. Someone recently asked me, when was the last time I suffered imposter syndrome? I think I told them it was yesterday, but it happens all the time, even at my point in my career. So I think it definitely does happen. All I want to suggest is, you know, join the club. It is a club. It's not really an exclusive club that we have imposter syndrome, but it's certainly one where we should recognize it and then hopefully shy it away. And I always love the idea of talking to yourself like you talk to your best friend. So if you talk yourself down, would you say that to your best friend? Probably not most of the time. So have a think how you talk to them and try to talk to yourself in the same way. But give yourself a break and be kind. And be like Chloe. So I'd love to share a couple of insights in what we learned in Silicon Valley. So with our competition, so our 12-week competition every year, at the end of it, we would take our winning teams to Silicon Valley. So we went 4 years in a row. It took nearly 50 girls over 4 years. The youngest girl was 9, who had Asperger's, who was homeschooled from the Central Coast of New South Wales, from a regional location, and she smashed it out of the park. So very impressed to see young people being able to bring their ideas to the world and to showcase them in a way that I could never have imagined. And I remember a comment from one of the companies we visited. They said, all of the people that get up and pitch before me, none of them have researched like your young people. So that research part is really key to selling your idea. So what did we learn? We learned a few things along the way. We learned, don't underestimate yourself. We learned, be challenged and learn to grow. Believe in yourself and advocate for yourself, because in the end, it's up to you. It's important to have good people around you. I know that very, very much. If you have a good idea, go for it. Show interest in the things that you like. Physical and social environments are key drivers of habit. You can build a career around your hobbies and your interests. You can incorporate your job into your hobby or your hobby into your job, vice versa. It's okay not to have it all figured out. And this is something I wish I would have learned a very long time ago. My whole life I was thinking all these adults know what they're doing. And then I realized none of them actually do. They're all making it up as they go along. And that made me feel a little bit better. You deserve a seat at the table. You deserve a voice at the table. And we want to hear from you. Elevate your voice. And that's what Techgirls is here for. Most of all, be bold and take risks. Big risks, big rewards. Why do we do this? So why do I do what I do at Techgirls? So here I've been doing this for a really long time. Firstly, I care about young people and I want them to have bright futures, but there are a couple of other reasons as well. One of the main reasons is that girls opt themselves out of STEM at 6 years old, or as young as 6 years old. So there's something that happens between 5 and 6 years old. It's called a brilliance bias, where girls at 5 years old, they believe they're equal at maths than boys, but at 6 years old, it suddenly changes. So something that happens around our perception at that age. And also young girls decide, I don't really want to do tech. I don't really want to do science. All those boys are there and it's not really for me. So there's something about that change in age which can really make a difference. The United Nations tells us that in digital literacy, women and girls are significantly being left behind. So we need to find ways of providing skills for women and girls in the digital space. I don't know if you've heard the stat, but the largest growing homeless population in Australia is women over 55, which is extremely concerning. And if we think of the fact that police in Queensland, where I'm located, spend 50% of their time on domestic violence call-outs, and the murder rate is absolutely unacceptable. You know, women are dipping into their superannuation accounts to pay rent. This is the reality of where we are right now as women and girls in society. So our program is evidence-based. It does work, but it takes time. And here we are 10 years later, we're starting to see the impacts of the work that we do, but it certainly does take time. But really the work that we do is all about the economic empowerment of women. It's about giving young women, girls, young women and to women, digital technology skills, hopefully giving confidence with those skills, and then a bit of bravery to go out there and solve problems that they care about. So lastly, I'd like to introduce you to Kira. So Kira came through our program a number of years ago and created an app called the Vocabulary Voyages. And her app was around preparing for NAPLAN. She was at high school at the time and found that preparing for NAPLAN was pretty boring. So created an app with a bunch of games to make it a little bit more fun. So what's really interesting with Kira now works with Atlassian, which is one of the biggest tech companies in the world. And she has her own startup. And what's great about Kira is when she was at school, she always wanted to be a doctor. She was always interested in medicine. Technology wasn't even on the cards. When she did Techgirls, she realized she could use technology with medicine, so her STEM plus X, to really make a difference. And so the work that she has been doing in her degree was around breast cancer screening technology and how to do it in a less invasive way to make it easier and less dangerous for women. So the fact that we have Kira, so if you think of Chloe, we may have lost her. We think that we now have Kira, who's making a huge impact with the technology in the medical world. We certainly need our tech girls trailblazing in this space. So what can you do to engage girls in STEM? So I know we have a range of different people on the line here today, but if you are in a position to influence young people, there are 5 things I've found that can make a difference to engage girls in STEM. And I have a nice little book here to show for it. So AEIOU is nice and easy for us to remember, and A is around autonomy. So it's about giving autonomy and leadership opportunities to young people. Now, these may apply to boys as well. I just happen to know they do work with girls, but I'd hazard to guess they apply to everyone. E is around ethos and about having a positive and growth mindset. So rather than saying I can't do that, saying instead I can't do that yet. Around involvement and hands-on engagement. So it's really important for us to play with technology and to break technology. We can fix it, but it's important to fail and fail fast and fail a lot. And failure is an absolutely essential part of success. And I know we get so scared to fail and to be seen to fail. I fail at something every single day, probably a number of things today. But in saying that, failure, I try to learn from things that I fail at so that then they help me on that journey to success. We have what we call otherness, and otherness is about the importance of diversity in design. So if we all look the same, we all think the same. So let's get different minds around the table, different backgrounds, different ideas, and then we have a real chance of solving problems in a genuine way. And then lastly, it's about usness, and usness is about computing with a purpose. It's around having a focus for why we build technology. And in my experience, girls don't tend to want to build technology for technology's sake. We want to build it to solve a problem. And also in my experience, I find that boys, and I don't want to stereotype too much, but boys tend to use technology as a toy and girls tend to use technology as a tool to get something done. So there's a different way of using technology that we try to emphasize. So I'm going to leave you with the very last video for today, which I think I'm almost on time. And let's meet our Girltastic team. So Girltastic were the primary school winning team from our competition last year. As you can see, they are 11 years old. They're from a public school here in Brisbane. They created a 91-page business plan, which was definitely our record. It was pretty impressive. And they created an app to inspire girls and give confidence in girls. So we were so excited about their app. They ended up presenting in front of 700 industry people late last year. Really fun, and they got to show the world what they are truly capable of. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for having me today. Hopefully we've taken one little tidbit away. Really grateful to be here and share my experiences running Tech Girls, and love to have you part of the program if you'd like to buy a book or donate. But certainly if you want to join our community, we would love to have you. As I mentioned, we're running free workshops in schools. So drop us a line, info@techgirlsmovement.org, and join our community. Thank you so much.